Hello and welcome to my channel, Becoming Bev. In today's video, I'm going to talk about last year or 1 year of van life or just 1 year of life. When I was kind of reviewing for this video and thinking back at the past year, I have to admit that it was a pretty spectacular year for me. And I had so many just beautiful, precious moments. I started off 2021 in Las Vegas. I lived in Vegas for 10 years, so I was in my van and I got to spend time with my friend Julie. I got to tour her Airstream trailer that she had turned into a mobile hair salon to do haircuts for the homeless. She always inspires me and is such a good friend, and time with her is always precious. I got to do some hiking. I did my favorite hike, Gold Strike Canyon Hot Springs. I went to Nelson Ghost Town, which is one of my favorite places. I could just spend hours and hours there looking at all the old cars and antiques and junk they have laying around. I hiked Lake Mead, which is one of the most beautiful, easy hikes with some spectacular views. From Vegas, I drove to Quartzsite, Arizona, where I met Bob Wells and he did my van tour. My friend Alba also joined me. I got to have a fireside chat with her in the desert. She car camped across the US. She's fascinating. There were some challenges in 2021. I got my van stuck in the mud. I had to have it towed out. I had a fuel tank leak in Atlanta, Georgia, so I left the van for a week. I had my air conditioner went out, so I had to get that repaired. Had a bit of an issue with a low tire, so I got new tires for the van. I think that's part of it. You're gonna have repairs. I mean, if you have a house, you're gonna have repairs on your house. If you have an everyday vehicle, you're gonna have repairs on that too. So the repairs are just kind of part of van life, or part of life. While the van was in the shop being fixed, I went to the Bahamas, and the day that I got back, the van was ready. So even though obviously you never want to have to spend money on repairs, that one was a pretty convenient repair for me. And while I was in the Bahamas, I got to check off a bucket list item to see the swimming pigs in Exuma, Bahamas. While I was in the Bahamas, I got flirted with by flamingos. I got to swim with sharks. I played with iguanas and got to see starfish on the beach and got some incredible, incredible photos from that trip. When I got back to Atlanta, I got to spend time with my photographer friends Eddie and Judy and got some amazing photos of me in my van. And they also printed that starfish picture that I now have hanging up in the van. From Atlanta, I headed south to Florida. In Florida, I got to go boating and experience some beautiful sunsets. I met Jason from the YouTube channel World Jason, who is still currently traveling all 50 states in 50 weeks. I think he's down to about the last maybe 10 states or so. I keep up with him on his website and on his Instagram page. I met that crazy girl in the parking lot from the YouTube channel Alana Michelle, where she featured me in one of her videos. In fact, it's her most popular video about pooping and van life. I'm like, of course she featured me in that video. I went to Disney World. I got to hang out with Mickey Mouse and Pluto and did a ton of Star Wars stuff. Angelina joined me for that trip and we had a lot of fun. I also made a stop in Beverly Beach where I got to meet Carrie and his one RV spot driveway, which was an absolute treat. I recommend it if you're in that area. I had some fun at the beach. I met my friend Donna. She hooked me up with a jungle parking spot and a beach house, and we had an absolute blast spending time together. I also met one of my YouTube subscribers, Nilda, in Miami. She let me spend the night in her driveway and was a wonderful host and took me around and showed me some of her favorite places in the area. And then I also headed down to Key West. I picked my daughter up in Miami and she and I did a road trip down to Key West where I met my friend Proby, who took us out boating. In March, I dropped the van off in Houston, Texas, where my friend Larry and I gutted the van. He spent a couple of months rebuilding it and totally made some first-class changes to the van. He He rebuilt the kitchen cabinet and gave me more water storage up under the bed, added a 200 amp hour lithium battery, gave me some beautiful drawers and storage, and really made the van where I could totally function off-grid. When I dropped the van off in Texas, I headed back to Missouri. My daughter needed me at our campground, Fred Rock. We had purchased a couple of teepees, and with the help of Jeremy and his crew, we were ready to put the teepees up. And then once that was done, we could furnish them and stock them with everything to get them ready to be vacation rentals. At this point, we also had the gypsy wagon ready to go. So it was good for me to be back there and have that project to help my daughter out to get these vacation rentals going. We worked really hard to do that, and we got to enjoy the property and go swimming just about every day. We also got the copper tub for the gypsy wagon, and that was kind of the finishing touch, like the last thing that it needed. So now it's available for rent. That gave us 5 rentals available at Fred Rock. We have the 2 teepees, the gypsy wagon, our beautiful pink palace, the rustic rose, and we also had the 1967 Airstream trailer. During this time, I got my drone pilot's license, which was really harder than I expected. So I got some nice aerial photos of Fred Rock. It's been fun to learn how to do that. I wish I were better at maneuvering the drone, but I'm learning. We had lots of fun visitors while I was at the campground. I got to meet Bob and his awesome dog Karma. I have a new friend, Cherish, who came to stay at the campground with us, and also my friends Liz and Stacy came to visit. So I got to do a tour of their rig and listen to some awesome bluegrass and banjo music. In mid-May, I got my van back just in time to head to Bevier, Missouri. I'd received an invitation from Don Noon from Vantasia Vans suggesting that I come and check out their truck-in or van rally. And since it was in Bevier, Missouri, I felt like it was an omen, so I went. What I found at that van rally were some incredible vans. I'm so impressed with how creative and talented these people are with their vans. But what was even more impressive was the camaraderie between the vanners. So in a way, I felt like I had found a new van family. I got to meet Chris and tour his van, Hotel California. I also fell in love with Steve-O's van, Toy Box, so I got to tour that one. Larry had done an amazing job with my van, and everything worked perfectly. From Spring Fever, the van rally, I headed back to the campground to host my daughter's 40th birthday party. We had an amazing bash. She had friends from all over the country fly in and spend 4 days at the campground just enjoying each other's company and listening to music, and she had a blast, and it was quite the birthday party. I have a group of girlfriends that I did a year-long seminar with a few years ago. I call them my sister goddess friends. So they had organized a trip to Costa Rica, so I got to join them for a week. So the week ended up just being a week of resting and spending time with friends. The time that I do spend in Missouri, I also get to spend time with my mom and my dad and my sister, so it's precious time with family. And it was during this time in May that my mom had purchased a van that caught fire before she even got it home. It was a horrible experience and super frustrating that someone would take advantage of my mom like that. And I think that they intentionally sold her a van that they knew had problems. My mom was devastated over that van. My sister set up a GoFundMe page for her, and the GoFundMe page raised about $4,000. So she was able to replace the van, and she has. This time she took a mechanic with her to check it out. She got a great little van, and next time I'm in Missouri, I'll introduce you to my mom and do a tour of her van. So thank you for all of you that pitched into her GoFundMe. I can't tell you what that meant to me and what it meant to her as well. I travel fairly often between Fred Rock, our campground, and Pearland, Texas, which is where my day spa is at. And sometimes I do a little detour and stop off to see my best friend Yvonne. So I got to do that and spend some time camping with her group, Glamper Girls, and hanging out with her crazy friends, Mo and Christine, and Summertime and some of those. They're so much fun. In July, we headed to the Van Nationals in Albert Lea, Minnesota. My daughter joined me for that one, and we had a lot of fun. And who knew Jennifer is a custom show van? She walked away with a couple of awards, and one I credit Larry for creating a very practical van, which was the award that she won. Since then, Jennifer has also won awards for Best Interior. In late July, I took off for a month-long trip. I decided that I wanted to wake up to something beautiful for my birthday, and I had selected the Badlands National Park as that destination. My first stop was in Kansas City, Missouri, where I spent time with Don and Becky Noon, and Don let me tour his van, Pirates of the Caravan. This van is absolutely the coolest van I've ever seen, and the attention to detail is just incredible. And just when I think that he couldn't possibly do anything else to the van, he figures out more things to do to it. On this trip, I got to check off my last 4 states: Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and the final state was Wisconsin. I visited Mount Rushmore and the Crazy Horse Memorial. I got to swim in a mountain lake. That's one of the things I love about the van, is if you see something like a mountain lake and you want to go swimming, you have everything that you need right there with you. I saw buffalo herds while I was there. I also made some stops like at Carhenge, and I did lots of hiking. I discovered Toadstool Geological Park, which was some fascinating hiking, and I also got to camp right up there at the trailhead. They have a little campground with maybe 10 parking spots. There's no electricity, but they do have bathrooms up there, and it makes it super convenient for getting up early and getting those hikes in before the weather gets too hot. I had an awesome time at a campground right next to Smith Falls, where I got some time at the waterfalls, which felt wonderful, and then also did some river rafting on the Niobrara River. And while I was at a campground in North Dakota, I met Jordan, who was bicycling across the United States. So I got to spend some time with him and just interview him and talk about his big adventure. He had started his bicycle trip in Washington and ended up in Bar Harbor, Maine. I really can't imagine doing that trip, and I was just so impressed that he took that on. Also, a highlight of this year was I got to meet Dee from the YouTube channel Lady BugOut. She showed up at the campground. I just happened to be watching Fred Rock while my daughter was away to attend a wedding. She and I bonded instantly. She has a van and has a YouTube channel, so we have a lot in common. And Dee and I have done some traveling together since she came to the campground. She also met me at a truck-in called Cave-In, where she and I killed it on the van driving games. Her van is so little and it maneuvers so easily compared to some of those 70s vans. So we had a lot of fun collecting a bunch of trophies at that truck-in. Now from Cave-In, Dee and I caravanned and we went to an event in Almosa, Colorado called Gutted. At Gutted, I got to meet some other people who had YouTube channels, and I also randomly ran into Aaron, who I had met in Mexico a few years before that, and I got to tour his box truck. From Gutted, I beelined home because my mom had gotten sick with COVID, and frankly, I was pretty worried about her. She was in the hospital 4 times in 3 weeks. So we brought her back to the campground in between hospital visits and took care of her. She's recovered since then. She has a little bit of brain fog now, and I think that it's COVID related, but physically she's doing really good, which we're happy about. And one of the last things that I did in 2021 was I drove to Indiana to look at a 1973 Challenger MCI bus. I fell in love with this bus. I met Aaron and Julie, who owned it. Great, great people. They were kind enough and gracious enough to actually drive the bus to Fred Rock. So right before the holidays, I headed back to Fred Rock. I wanted to be there for my dad's birthday, which is the same week as Thanksgiving. decided, to go ahead and stay through the holidays, through Christmas and New Year's. And the time in between, Misty and I put our heads together and came up with what we think is an awesome interior design for the bus. We went with a peacock color scheme. We've had so much fun putting the final touches on the bus decor and getting it ready to be our 6th rental at Fred Rock. So that's my 2021 year of life and of van life. There have been some ups and downs and repairs and challenges. There's been camaraderie and friendships and new friendships. I've woken up to some beautiful, beautiful places. I feel so blessed to have got to spend the time in the van that I have. What I say is every morning when I wake up in the van, I smile because I know I'm out there on an adventure. Thank you for being here with me on the journey, and thank you for being a part of my channel. I appreciate it. You keep watching and I'll keep posting content.